It's a Wonderful Life is one of those movies that didn't do well during its initial release, but over the successive decades has garnered a sizable following, largely due to being shown on TV every holiday season. What has made this movie such a timeless classic, in my opinion, the reason why people keep coming back to it year after year, is that it speaks to a sentimentality that people tend to get this time of year. It's a Wonderful Life is very sentimental, probably a bit too sentimental, on the point of becoming a little ridiculous. However, this could have largely been played up in response to the horrors of World War II, which had just ended a year prior. Perhaps at that time, director Frank Capra and star Jimmy Stewart felt that a little sentimentality was needed to counterbalance the feelings of nihilism and darkness that came home off the battlefields of Europe and the Pacific. Perhaps, too, a reason for this film's endurance is that people still long for some sentimentality as an escape from the general cynicism that pervades modern material society. The main character, George Bailey, is probably one of the unluckiest individuals ever to be born. Or so he thinks. He is a man who grew up with big dreams of traveling the world and making an impact. But it seems that every time he's about to take that first step out the door, duty calls him back home.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Whether it be his father getting unalived via a cardiovascular whoopsie-daisy on the night before he is set to begin his world travels, and is thus called back to take over the unprofitable family loan business, or whether there's a bank run on his wedding day and he once again has to save his family's business by using his own honeymoon money to bail it out. The guy just can't catch a break. It's like God is playing a game of whack-a-mole with him, and George Bailey is the mole. Speaking of God, though, a striking thing is that while this movie has some religious themes, there's angels, people pray, etc., this movie is really more secular than Christian. Although we do briefly see a church once, and the morality espoused here is surface-level Christian, the God invoked by the citizens of Bedford Falls is rather non-denominational and generalized. This has the dual effect of being both accessible and non-offensive to a wider, more diverse audience, while also being a little heretical at times to the Christian roots that it comes from. For example, if you know anything about Christian theology, you'll know that this movie's depiction of angels is completely wrong. In the movie, the angel Clarence is supposed to have been a man who died and went to heaven, and thus became an angel. But according to traditional Christian teaching, people who die and go to heaven become saints, not angels. Angels are an entirely separate entity. With this movie, we begin to see a trend that would continue in the later 20th and now 21st century of secularization and de-religifying formerly religious aspects of American life, such as religious holidays. Christmas and Easter have become less about the birth and death of Christ and more about Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny. Anyway, back to George Bailey. Because he has continuously been called back to duty to his community, he never really had any time to pursue his own desires. This has left him frustrated, and when it looks like his business might come crashing down, he despairs and contemplates suicide. This is where the angel Clarence comes in to save him by pulling a reverse Christmas Carol on him. Rather than showing the Scrooge character how he's hurt people in order to change his ways, Clarence shows Mr. Bailey, the good guy, how he's helped people in order to give him the will to keep living this wonderful life.
Roll credits.
And it's all the people that he's helped that come to his aid in the end that truly saves him. In a very power of friendship type move, the community that Mr. Bailey has spent his whole life being a pillar of comes back to support him when he needs it the most. And I think this is the positive message that the movie is trying to give, and one which I generally agree with. By fulfilling your duty to your fellow man, even though it often requires a great deal of sacrifice on your part, is in the long run worthwhile because you will be rewarded by friendship, admiration, and support from your community. Again, while this may be a little too naive and sentimental today, this is the time of year that such feelings prevail, and perhaps the time of year that we need to be reminded to be a little bit more like George Bailey. Old Mr. Potter may still have all the money, but Mr. Bailey remains the richest man in Bedford Falls. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for more. Good night, and don't forget to ring a bell for an angel second class out there somewhere.